And we are live. Hello and welcome, known world, to the Maestras of Defense, episode 3, the very special Pennsic Pity Party edition, where the Maestras of the known world who have joined us here today are going to talk about a wide variety of questions I have fancily prepared about Pennsic to get us started talking, and I'm sure we will probably not even hit all of these questions. To start, I'd like to do a round of introductions. Let's start with Natalia. Tell us all about you.
Okay, this is my first Maestras thing for Zoom. I'm Maestra Natalia Anastasia Evgenova. I'm from the East Kingdom. I'm a Master of Defense. I am a Laurel. I'm a Pelican. I'm an Ogre. I've been in the SCA since 1995, and this is my third thing during the pandemic, so I haven't done too much. I've been a Kingdom Marshal of Defense. I'm not exactly sure what I'm supposed to say. I'm just here.
That's good. You're good.
I'm just your ordinary fighter fencer person.
All right, Illidor.
Yes.
We don't know who you are.
I am Master Illidor de Bettigrain. I'm the Kingdom Seneschal of Athelmark. I love fencing, and I'm so happy to be here this evening and just chatting with you all. Not actually going to Pennsic sucks, but being here with you all and getting to talk about fencing is not quite as good, but good enough. So I'm super happy to be here today. I've been in the SCA for 30 years at this point, so a long time, and I'm just still, and I'm also, I was one of the I was one of the premiers of Masters of Defense of the West. There we are. Done.
All right, Mirabai, you look like you're ready.
I'm Maestra Mirabai Sedalsier of the Middle Kingdom. I am a former general of the Rapier Forces. I'm a Bronze Ring. I've been to a bunch of other kingdoms, traveling with various reigns. I've been a kingdom champion. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, I've been part of the SCA for 20 years, but really active for like 16.
All right, Dorinda, mod number 1.
I am Duchess Dorinda. I got into fencing when my Queen's Guard gave me a rapier, and I thought this is way too pretty to not use. I have found the fencing community to be the most welcoming place ever in the SCA. And I'm hoping that since we're here for the pity party for Pennsic, that some of your questions have to do with melee, because that is one of my very most favorite things ever, is doing melee. And I have had the pleasure of serving as a general on the fields at Pennsic, and so I'm ready for those melee questions.
All right. I definitely have melee and tournament questions.
Awesome.
Letia. You're on mute. Oh, you need me to unmute you. Okay, sorry about that. Mercedes.
Hi, I'm Mercedes Vera de Calafia. I've been in the SCA for 43 years. I'm a Master of Defense. I'm a Pelican, former Kingdom Marshal of Defense, former Kingdom Seneschal. I get bored easily. And I've been fencing since 1992.
Awesome. Letia.
I am Magistra Letia. I got magistrified at the last event that I went to before the pandemic. I also just became the Excellency of Lochmere, which means I will step up as Excellency if we get events again, hopefully sometime soon. Someday. And I discovered the SCA in '94, but I didn't start fencing till later because I was a baby and needed needed to be older to fence without my parents. And I think that's, yeah.
All right. Sorry, I'm trying to look around.
I also like dragonflies.
I know. I like that about you. Maestra Rhiannon, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Rhiannon. I'm from the East. I live in Rhode Island. I live in the same house as Natalia, and I've been a Master of Defense for a couple of years now.
Yay!
And you've been in the SCA since how long?
In 1982.
I think you may have most of us beat. And
So I'm looking at a lot of these names, and I think I know you guys.
Great. And I am your moderator this evening. I am Maestra Brigid. I currently live in Antir, which is the land of all the Checky. And I am also from the Middle Kingdom in the East, where I was a bronze ring, an ogre, and a white scarf. And now I'm here. So yay. All right, so ladies, this is the special Pennsic pity party episode. This is the first question to go around, and again, I'll call on you, and if you're muted, I'll try and unmute you from the other monitor because I'm not super tech savvy, and then I'll come back to you. So, the first question is, when was your first Pennsic, and were you already a fighter when it was your first Pennsic? If not, were you interested in fighting? Who wants it? All right, Rhiannon.
It was in 1985. I don't remember if that was 13 or 14, and there really was no fighting at that point. I authorized in Rachan a few years later, but it wasn't until I think 15 or 16 that we actually had any rapier at all.
All right. Mercedes.
My first Pennsic was Pennsic 12, which I think was 1983. I didn't start fencing until the 90s. I wanted to fight when I joined, but that was back in the old days when being a woman and fighting rattan was an iffy proposition. So I said, screw them, and I'll wait for rapier. And I discovered rapier in the 90s.
All right. Natalia, gonna get the East out of the way.
Yep. 1995, first Pennsic. I spent every day on the field, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. till 5 p.m. until they threw us off the field. I fenced all day. In fact, that first Pennsic, I didn't know there was anything except for the fencing field. And I got into an unfortunate duel where Brita had to actually be my second, and that was the first time she met me. So I kind of go big or go home, I guess.
Awesome. Dorinda.
My first Pennsic was 1993, and back then, I think it was 1 year later that I did rattan fighting. Didn't know much about fencing, but we did rattan fighting, and at least you get melee experience, which carries over. So that part was good. But yeah, I was a very, very small rattan fighter.
All right. Mirabai.
I think my first Pennsic was 2005, and I was fencing, but I had just authorized at Baron Wars, which is, I think at the time it was held in early May, but it might have been early June, I'm not sure. I'd been fencing for about a year, finally authorized, and then went to Pennsic, having never really done melees at all before. So, but obviously I loved it, or I wouldn't have gotten into command staff.
Rhiannon, you have your hand up.
Mercedes, wasn't Pennsic your first event?
Oh no, I joined out in Caid. I was in the SCA for years.
I'm remembering incorrectly then.
I moved to the East and was talking to a Baron and Baroness of Pescor, and they said, "Hey, you want to go to this really cool event this weekend?" And it was Thursday, and we jumped in the car.
Megrith and oh my God.
Megrith and Ulrich and Megrith both. We jumped in the car and went to Pennsic. It started Saturday morning and ended Sunday at noon. and that's all that Pennsic was back then.
Lydia.
So I did, yay. I did not fight my first Pennsic. My first Pennsic was 98. Had just turned 18, so I was just old enough to go if your parents were not part of the SCA. And so I had not been able to fight up until then, and I still couldn't fight then because, as I said, just turned 18. But certainly was interested and definitely went down and watched a lot of the fighting.
All right, Illidor.
So my memory's a little fuzzy, right? So I think it was 1990 or maybe 1991. So it might have been 1990 actually, because I think 20 year had been the year before, and they had said it'd been big and rocking because the 0 years are the years that it gets big. And I had absolutely no interest in fighting whatsoever. And fencing, I didn't even know fencing existed if it had. So I did not get into fencing for like 11 years later.
All right. Well, I guess I'm the last one. My first Pennsic was, I believe, 97, and I was also 18 years old. So fellow Dragonfly teenage represent. And I was not interested in fighting. I actually just showed up to party my little butt off, wear a foxtail, and belly dance. And eventually I discovered that there was fighting, and I was like, oh, I won't like that at all. And due to a hilarious and totally different story, I eventually got tricked into trying fighting, realized I loved it. And after that, yay. But my first experience at Pennsic was not to fight, and now that's really all I seem to ever do. All right, so we have some questions about tournaments or melee. Which one do you guys want?
Melee.
Melee.
So spoiler, we have like a lot of generals and melee commanders and melee badasses on this call. So I'm gonna roll right into this. First off, because all of you have done so much amazing stuff in the leadership arena, I'd like to touch on that with the first question. Have you ever been a commander at Pennsic, and in what capacity? Who wants to go first? Illidor!
Oh, I was just raising my hand as I have. I have been warlord twice, and this sad, very not happening Pennsic, I was supposed to be co-warlord with Master Emily for Ethelmark, and sadly did not happen. So
Please tell me you guys are going to do it next year.
TBD, we'll see what happens.
We don't know if there's going to be a next year yet.
Well,
we'll have it next year. We'll just see whether or not we have Pennsic there or not. Fingers crossed.
I crossed my toes too, just in case. All right. So current, maybe sort of not a warlord during the year that wasn't, and former. Natalia.
I've been the East Kingdom General back quite a few years ago. And then also I've been a commander of either an assistant commander in the Northern Army or a commander of our smaller groups, the 3rd Division, or the back end of the 3rd Division, or some sort of commander, because you can't get me to stop talking, so you might as well give me something to do. Because I'm going to do it anyway. But yeah, I think I was general right after Mercedes was. Was that? Because it was me. Yeah, I was the number 4 for the East when we started the war points. And actually before that even, we would go into the woods and we did war scenarios in the woods before they were war points. And I commanded one of those. That was a hell of a lot of fun.
Yes, they were. Well, Mercedes, you got called out as the previous general to Natalia.
Yeah, so when I was Kingdom Rapier Marshal, my king came to me and he said, "Hey, do you guys want more war points than just the Champions Tourney?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, that would be great." So I kind of generaled and was Kingdom Marshal at the same time, because I didn't think, hey, maybe someone else should do the job. So,
So just to be clear, were you the first person in command of the Pennsic melees for the East?
yes.
Yes.
The first war point.
No, that was Antonio.
During my term.
That was
Yeah.
Antonio. It was
Antonio
during your term.
first melee?
It was Antonio and Alexander, then Mercedes, then me.
So there wasn't a general
Right.
here. It was just me going, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to lead the troops because I'm the Rapier Marshal.
For a while.
And then the next year we got smart and made Antonio do it. And then I did it. I did it again once I was no longer working.
Who got the helmet, right? Like, isn't the helmet
Yes.
like passed on between all the Eastern generals?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
helmet came from my cadet
Okay.
or protege,
Yeah.
from my protege.
It
Right.
came, and I look like Tank Girl with it on, by the way.
I gotta be honest. I'm super sad I left it loose before I could try for it.
There are no pictures of me in that helmet. I made sure.
For those of you who have not seen this helmet, it looks like it came from the set of MASH.
Yes.
It's directly, yeah.
It's an actual army helmet.
Or two helmet with all sorts of stickers and things, and it's horrible.
So not to totally sidetrack this, but you mentioned that you were there when the king said, "What if we had more melees than tournaments?" And from the mid-realm side, we had actually found out about the first melee war point because our Kingdom Rapier Marshal at the time, Maximilian, was reading the local household Legio Draconis BBS, like bulletin board forum thing for Darkyard, and they had mentioned that there was a rapier war point, and it was news to us. Like, we had no idea that we were going to have a melee war point at all, and then we found out it was with epee, and the Middle Kingdom banned epee. We didn't have an epee authorization. We were not allowed to fight epee at our kingdom events. And so we had to authorize people to fight epee so that they could fight it at unofficial practices, which was really just your practice, but you went outside. And then we had to train people on it enough that we could authorize them to go fight. And we found out afterwards, we were like, what happened with that at the after, thing? And the king at the time said, well, we had traded off heavy rapier for epee to get something like the near woods endrits for the Rattan battle, because that if everything's up in the air when you negotiate. And we were like, are you kidding me? You couldn't ask us if we even like if that wasn't even a legal format, like that we thought.
What year was that, Brigid?
Like, we didn't even own the gear for it. So yeah, Rihanna, you're giggling.
I believe that Brita and I and a couple of others authorized, I think maybe a quarter of the mid-realm and epee.
I would believe that.
So what happened behind the scenes with that is that we were at an event and he asked me if I wanted war points, melee war points. And I said yes, and he sat down with me and he said, okay, so what are things that I can use for negotiation? What are things that I can ask for in return for giving them some of what they want? What can, and I said, well, hey, at least one of them in epee would be awesome, because that was still our primary weapons form. Schlager had started and we had a lot of people using it. It wasn't universal by any means. So that's why it was epees, because it was one of the things that that I gave the king to negotiate with.
Yeah, for those of you who are listening in, the Pennsic war negotiations could be in a totally different episode
Yes.
where we discuss them. I'm going to get back to the original question here, but with a footnote,
More
literally everything is on the table. Like, it's like, oh, you could have the near entrance of the woods if my queen gets to host the state dinner. Like, if we get this war point added, I will let you have the first pick in the field battle for the uphill side. Like, literally everything's on the table. It doesn't even have to be fighting related. All right, Mirabai.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, I was gonna, you were saying about negotiations real quick, which is that I was sort of present for this weird dichotomy switch, where it went from the royals didn't really care about rapier, so rapier basically got to design their own war points and then just be like, here you go, guys, take this to negotiations with you, to, well, now we care because you guys win all your points, so now we want you to do a whole bunch of other things and we're going to dictate what you do. So it was sort of like, well, I'm glad you care about us, but could we have our control back maybe a little bit?
Right?
Once there's a war point, we have no control. That's where it goes.
Right.
So I sort of had a weird career path to becoming general. And especially when I've told some of the Rattan folks about this, they're like, what the hell? So I went from being a regional XO, the Mid-Realm has 5 regions, and there's always a CO and an XO. I went from being a regional XO to the chief of staff, because the general at the time was like, you're good with numbers and you like to collect data and you know how to use Google Sheets, so how about you do this thing? To being XO to being general in 4 years. So, and the year before I was a regional commander or a regional XO, I don't think I even knew that we had 5 regions and couldn't have named them. So it was like this whole thing happened where local people to us won crowns, so we were involved in their reign, and then I knew all the things about everything all of a sudden. So it was a very weird path to that. But I also failed to mention when I was introducing myself, I'm the current battlefield coordinator for Rapier. And at least so far, I'm set to do that next year, if there is a Pennsic next year, which has been interesting to see a completely different side from the staff side of things instead of from the command side of things. But yeah, I've worked very closely with the generals getting all that sorted out too.
I feel like you're going to have 100% cooperation with hay bales this year. You're like the first battlefield coordinator ever to have
or 0%.
No, yeah, 0%, but like 0% drama with the hay bales. Like, you're good to go.
Also true.
Dorinda.
Were you a hay bale?
I have had the chance to be the Ethelmark commander 6 times, 6.5. So the first 2, and then somewhere around 9, 10, and then the last 2 years. So I have had the chance to do it several times, and I will just say it is very different. You know, Mirabai was talking, and Rhiannon were talking about, oh, you know, we lose control. You should see how much control you have as an ally. That's a whole different ballgame.
Done that. Yes.
So yeah, so I have had the chance to do that, and I will say that I love being part of the commanding, whether it's a small unit or a whole army, and you know, I really encourage people to give that a shot and see if it's something that they'd like to do.
Dorinda, I have a follow-up for you. So you've been very involved, obviously, in all of the Ethelmark armies, Rapier Army and whatnot. And you mentioned being an ally, but there was recently a friendship year where it was East and Mid versus Ethelmark and Atlantia. How'd that go on your side? Because I didn't get any visibility to it.
It's difficult. And so, you know, certainly I will say that when you combined Ethelmark and Atlantia, we did not have some of the institutional memory that the East and the Mid have. There are a lot of things that the East and the Mid do that we're used to them doing. And we were, you know, we didn't have that history and that base and the preparation to do that. I will say that was one year, that was one of the years we did that. I think we did it twice. One of the years I was not commanding, And it was very interesting because I actually watched our commander fight as an ally, even though he was a principal. And we had a moment where it was a 5-flag battle, and Ethelmark was to keep 2 flags, and I think Atlantia was to keep 1 or 2 flags, and with some other help, and then we had some other allies doing one. And at the end, and I kept trying to get him to send some people. We had our flags, and I'm like, you need to send some people down. He's like, I can't send people down. We'll lose our flag. I'm like, you've got to send people down. Our job is to keep this flag. And it's like, we're a principal kingdom. Our job is to win the battle. It is not to keep this flag. And we got done. He's like, well, we kept our flags. But you lost the battle because he fought like a good ally.
Right.
If we had been fighting with either the mid-realm or the east, and
Elidor, I see you flailing around there.
Yeah. If they had said we need Ethelmark to keep 2 flags, and we kept 2 flags, we would have done our job and been good. But that was not our job. Our job was to win the battle, and I couldn't get him out of the ally mindset into a principal mindset. So it is very different. And I think it's something for people to, I could see Natalia and Elidor are both chomping at the bit to talk.
Oh, I'm chomping at the bit too, but I'll let Elidor go first.
No, the only thing I was like, Natalia was like, I could see you. I'm like, I'm having flashbacks to that. That was
more it.
Dorinda, Elidor.
Just really quickly, right? Like, I remember the year before that, though, we had suddenly like, okay, East and Middle most of the time, and then Purple and Ethelmark's in charge, right? For like one battle. And I was like, suddenly we had 11 other kingdoms we had to deal with, right? And they're all like, we're going to go do our thing because we didn't negotiate with you people. And we're like, well, it's 11 cats. 11 cats do 11 cat things. And that was what happened. So, yeah.
Oh my gosh. So quick side note for people. If you're unfamiliar with the term purple, typically at Pennsic, it's the war of the East Kingdom versus the Middle Kingdom. So East has blue duct tape on their mask, and the Mid-Realm has red duct tape on their mask. So it's like a red versus blue in real time. And so during that friendship war, we all had purple on our mask, and then I can't remember what the allies or the Atlantia and Ethelmark had. Yellow or
green, I think.
Green. Yes.
Wasn't it green?
Yeah,
Purple Drazi and green Drazi.
Yeah. All right. So Rhiannon.
I did want to say one quick little thing. I'm just going to say that all the women on this panel, though, all the maestras, these are the people that I look to on the melee field, that even if they're on the opposite side, even if they're on the same side, no matter what, these are my friends, and I have grown to love and depend upon these people in melee, even when I'm like, I'm going to beat you.
Right. All right, Natalia, and then I think we still have Letia on the line.
Now,
Yes.
Ree, don't call her Natalia.
Sorry, I was staring at you.
That's it. You're going down. Okay. Okay. I would like to agree that I'm seeing a number of names on here with mute by their names, and I would like those people to unmute themselves and contribute. This isn't just the maestros. We would like everybody to.
Actually, typically we do just do the maestros for this. I'm sorry. We do have people just mute because we're asking the maestros to talk. So sorry I didn't say that up front.
Okay, I would kind of like to hear other voices.
That's what the chat is for. If they have questions, they're supposed to put it in chat.
Okay, I'll try and read that.
Yeah.
Okay.
We do try and watch chat as we go along, and if you do have questions that you want us to ask, we will read the chat and include them. Sorry about that. So Rhiannon, have you ever been a commander at Pennsic, and in what capacity?
I have been a unit commander, but I have never been a general. I have avoided that like the plague. I have, however, been the rapier coordinator. I was the first one for the first 2 years after those positions, rapier coordinator, archery coordinator, heavy coordinator, all of those were kind of put into place because we were finding that despite the fact that we had 80 billion people on the staff, we were finding that there were communication gaps. And so, well, to be blunt, Fast Eddie talked me into it. And
And then you've all told me to do it after you.
Yeah, and I'm willing to help you. However, still, it needs to be done. It's a useful position because we were talking about institutional memory a little while ago. Yeah, institutional memory is full of holes. That's the problem. We were finding there was no continuity in the in the planning. Whoever was in charge of a thing one year would just kind of drop the ball and not tell their successor anything. And so Eddie was kind of thinking that maybe the idea was to try and institutionalize this more, make more of a record, so it would help everybody really.
Yeah, that's fair. It's hard to pass on, the knowledge, and a lot of stuff adapts as we move along. Letia, have you ever been a commander in a Pennsic melee, and what capacity?
I was Southern Regional for Atlantia for several years, and the regional was the full command was open to me as a tract I could have gone to, but I feel like you don't get to fight as much. So after several years of being Southern Regional and kind of missing out on melee fighting, I took a step back and let some people who were very eager to command do that, and then I get to be eager to fight. So that worked out well for me. So, yeah.
Great.
I'm gonna jump in here for a hot minute about so we have let's see, we have 6, 7, 8 maestras here out of the 26, right, that are in the 26 or 27 maestras that we have, right? And so right just now we have a third of the maestras online right now, and a third of us have had very high level, if not the highest level of warlord or being in charge of rapier and whatnot. There's no way our male counterparts can say the same.
No way. One of my good friends said there's no glass ceiling at Pennsic.
Right.
I think this kind of goes.
But on the other hand, we don't want to get into male bashing either.
It's fair, but it does go into a little bit of the service track, like being in leadership in melee is definitely a service level item where you are organizing people, and there's a lot that goes on that isn't just being on the field and battling commands.
Right.
When I was general of the middle, I typically spent 4 to 6 hours off the field per war day, just dealing with war point related, items and dealing with stuff. Before I go to my answer for this, we do have a really adorable picture in the chat. If I share screen, will that stay on the recording, Illidor?
No idea. No clue.
No idea. All right, I'm going to do it.
Find out.
We have this picture of, there is the aforementioned helmet. Ta-da! No, wait. That's not it. Does everyone see the helmet?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, now the caption to that is, "Get off my lawn!"
I miss Ogadai. All right, I think I'm the last one to answer. So Have I ever been a commander in melee, Pennsic melee, and what capacity? So back when, before we had melee war points at Pennsic for Rapier, I was on command staff for Rattan. And I was the Kingdom Scout Commander for the scouting program, if anyone remembers the scouting program. And so I would go out, I would count all the troops for the Rattan commanders, I would learn all the heraldry, I would go find units and be like, hey, there's 30 Kalantiri with a mix of shields and spears on this deer trail in the woods. This information is about 30 minutes or 30 seconds old. I can take you to them right now, you know. And so it was my job to know the heraldry, be able to get communication lines kept open between all of the stuff. And so I actually was given the banner from the woods to walk out with for one of the Rattan war points one year as a honor guard. And I was really excited and proud of that because my communication lines had actually helped us win that war point. And so when it came around for us to have war points for Rapier, Max, I was one of the people that Max came to, and he said, hey, you're involved in the command staff for Rattan. Kitty!
That's Fletcher, sorry. Kitty, yes.
Kitty. And can you help us? And I was like, sure, I'll be glad to help in whatever capacity you need me as. And so I filled all of these really odd jobs in the early Rapier army. So not unlike Mirabai, I had this really bizarre path that kind of led me to be a general of the Middle Kingdom. I was originally a scouting commander because I was the Kingdom Scout Commander for Rattan. And so they made me Scout Commander for Rapier. And my job was to do all the intel and deliverable related bits in the war points. And then I moved into various other little bitlets of command, Black Ops or this or that, until finally I was the XO to Master Chrétien. So I too was the 4th general of the Midrealm. It was Max and then Moira McGillivray. And then after that, we decided maybe we shouldn't have the KRM also be the general. So then it was Chrétien. And then when Chrétien became general, I became his XO, which is like the deputy general of the Middle Kingdom. And so I don't know how it is now, but back then it was the generals in charge of the negotiations and the overall strategy, and the XO was in charge of enacting that strategy and the upkeep of tactics as it goes throughout the melee scenario. So if there was a res battle, we were in charge of it. And if there was a one-off battle, they were in charge of it. And so I actually got to command 2 of the woods battles, and that was awesome. And then I stepped up as Rapier General, and that was awesome. And then I got to be general for Pennsic, and then I came back from Pennsic and got laid off. And so I was like,
and then was a gift to the East.
Right. Thank you. It was very flattering. So then, unfortunately, I had to move, and I was like, why couldn't you just laid me off like a week before my vacation, and I could have actually went to both weeks of Pennsic. And so then I moved to the East, and I didn't want anything to do with the war points. And then, not unlike Natalia, I found myself on the melee field with people not talking, and I just started taking over command because I couldn't help myself. I couldn't stop myself from being like, all right, we need to organize this part of the line. And so finally I applied to become general for the East, and Ogadai got it. So I was Ogadai's XO, or deputy, or whatever it's called. And that was really cool, and I was so excited. And then I got laid off right before war. And so then I moved to on tier. And so I'd just been in on tier for maybe like, I don't know, I'd moved out here in April. So I was only in on tier for a couple of weeks or a couple of months when I went to Pennsic, and I was like, oh, good eye, put me to work. I don't know where to go or what to do. And so it was really funny because I actually showed up to my own kingdom's processional for opening ceremonies and on tier, and I was like, hi, I'm Brigid, I'm here for opening ceremonies. And they were like, who are you? are you in our kingdom? And I'm like, yes, I just haven't gotten anything yet. So I love my time as a commander. I love my time in the random commander and also being general. And a call out to Mirabai and all of the former generals of the middle. King Seto just gave us a augmentation of arms for being a former general, which is really cool. So if you see a mid-realm dragon with a rapier, that means that we've been a general. So cool beans. Illidor.
One of my favorite things about you jumping around so much was that it seemed like I was always on the opposite side of you. So I got to play the try to kill brigade game. And it was a great game, right? It was a great game. So unfortunately though, you were a good general and did not come to the front of the line, unlike some others, right? So it was difficult. It was really difficult. I don't think I actually got it more than once or twice, right? If that, but yes.
I have a 28-inch sword that I take out when I command, so that I will not fight. It's literally there to save my bacon until I can beg someone to come save me. So, yeah. All right. So we're going to start with Dorinda because I don't feel like we've gotten to talk about war enough with Dorinda. What is your favorite melee scenario that's ever been held at Pennsic, and what's your favorite melee moment?
Ooh, well, I'll combine those and I'll talk about a Maestra of Defense who is not here today. I love the woods battle. I love running around in the woods. I love that it's a little bit of a broken field and you got trees in the way and you got ruts and roads and you gotta do the thing. I love that, if you die, okay, I don't love the running part, that part stinks. But eventually you get to come back and you get to keep fighting. So I love the woods battle, one of my favorites. And one of my favorite stories is Maestra Emily and I. So we were fighting with the Mid-Realm and we were fighting against the Eastern allies. And we were kind of outnumbered by a lot. And it was a long, long day. And so I think they had counted they'd had 3 flag counts. And of the 3 flags, we had received none. So we were down 0 to 9. We were struggling a little bit. And, it was just going to be one of those days. But that's okay. You're fencing the woods battle. You're having a good time. So we're getting down to the end of the battle. We're on the flag. And the East has not sent quite so many troops over to our way, more than we had. But, it's the end of the woods battle, so people start dropping out. So they're over there kind of open order. We're on our side, really open order, just trying to keep them from flanking. And I'm sitting there and we're tired and I'm across the line from some guy and we're doing the little, tink, tink, tink thing. And I look over to my left and there's Maestra Emily. And she's fighting 3 people. Now, not that I'm competitive or anything, but I'm like, she's making me look bad. She's fighting 3 guys. Maybe I should be fighting 3 guys. So I am not a very tall fencer. I do not have a very long sword. I cannot fight 3 people without getting up in there because 3 people are not close to me, especially in open order. So I start pushing it up and it's fine. If she's going to fight 3 people, I'm going to fight 3 people. Well, she sees me pushing up, so she starts pushing up. Pretty soon, the 2 of us are charging the line, taking the flag. The rest of the army is like, I guess we're taking the flag. And they all charge. We wiped everybody out and we took the flag, and wouldn't you know, the cannon went off. It was the only point we got, I think, all day. And I'm going to use some grown-up language here, but this is what she said to me. She came up to me, and of course we're laughing and having a great time because we actually got one, and she comes up to me and she's like, man, you got great big giant balls charging the flag like that when we're down people. I looked at her and I'm like, I was just following you. She's like, no, I was following you. And the good news is everybody else followed the 2 of us. We charged and we got 1 flag. So that was a great woods battle moment. I love the woods, and it's my favorite battle.
All right, that's awesome. Mirabai.
So I also love the woods. Woods is always my favorite battle, and every year we get to the end of it and I'm the only one who's going, can we do it again? Can we do it again? That was really fun. For one thing, you get to fight in the shade for an hour, so that's great. But probably my favorite moment from the woods wasn't actually during fighting. It was at the end of it, and typically in the mid are king and queen, who are there in the woods most of the time, whether they're fighting with us or they're just there to cheer us on. They usually hold a field court and give some dragon's teeth, which is like a special on the field award for extra bravery, combat, coolness, whatever it is, sort of the purview of the crown. And this was when my good friends Nick and his wife, who is unfortunately ailing and probably will not be fencing again, but they were king and queen. And this always makes me tear up because she is an itty bitty person, like maybe 5 feet tall and maybe 100 pounds. And before they won crown, she had never done any kind of combat. But she was like, well, if Nick's going to be doing the rattan stuff, I'm going to do fencing. I can do this. Sure. Why not? And I don't think she really expected to like it, but it turned out that she loved it. And so when they called this field court, Nick opened court and he was like, so I want to tell you guys this story about my wife.
Oh.
About halfway through this battle, she comes off the field to res, and I'm sitting here, mask off, having a drink. And she grabs a drink in about 5 seconds, looks at me and goes, put your mask back on, Cupcake, we're going back in. And I think that was the same battle where Nick actually got a little bit of a cut on the end of his nose from a hard hit. And for the whole rest of war, he was like, I got this fencing. This was from fencing. I got this. It was pretty awesome. So yeah, but yeah, just put your mask back on, Cupcake. We're going back in.
I'm going to reuse that.
That should be a quote on a banner.
Illidor.
So my favorite melee is Siege of La Rochelle. I love that thing. It is the first melee that we have every year at Pennsic, and we're all just so excited to be on the field and stabbing each other, and I absolutely love it. And it is just my favorite. Now, admittedly, there's one part I don't love, which is where we get shot with rubber bands. I'm less than thrilled with that, right? That part's less than great, so I don't enjoy that part.
Hello, Rita.
Don't enjoy that part. So, and for some reason, I get targeted. I don't know why. Could be because I'm loud. My favorite moments with Siege of La Rochelle, though, are the after. I've had some absolutely amazing moments of like true glory in that castle, right? It's just so much amazing and I love it. But my favorite parts are afterwards when it was first Known World against White Scars versus the Known World, and now it is Masters of Defense versus Known World. But every year I keep hoping that people will figure out how to, we all go up in that corner, and for some reason they just can't figure out how to murder us all. Go for the corners. Go for the corners. Kill and just expect to die, right? But take one of us with you.
Take notes. And those appear in order meetings.
Corners, right? Go for the corners. Take one of us with you. That's all that matters.
There's way less of us than there is of you.
Exactly.
Don't kill us. We're dead.
Push forward and die. Your lives mean nothing.
Exactly.
Thank you, Sosha.
My absolute favorite moment, though, with that was me, and it was 2 Atlantean White Scarves. I think one of them was Lloyd. This was a long, long time ago. We decided we were going to go up into the top part of the castle, right? So it was like you had to come in. It's up in the it's up in the turrets up front. So we're standing there, and it was 3 of us, and it was 2 Atlanteans and then me. And I had I had a 45 and I think a 42 with me. And what would happen was they would come in, and the Atlanteans would parry their swords into the wall, and then I'd stab them. It happened over, like, I think we got like 30 people that way. And I'm just like, it was just such a great moment, right? Of just all of us working together. And that was still one of my favoriteest melee moments of all time, which is all of us working together and just like over and over again, they just kept coming for us. And we just kept just like, nope, Perry dead, Perry dead, Perry dead. It was great. We had a really great time doing it.
One of the early La Rochelle's, this is before Brigid even showed up. So the mid didn't really have a lot of female fencers. So they needed a queen, because the whole idea was to kill the queen. And so I remember I was taking a nap on the field, and all of a sudden there's Max in my vision, and he's saying, "Hey, Ree, how about you be the queen?" And I'm like, seriously, you don't have anybody? And he was like, no. So I got to be the queen. And I would like to say that I have spent far too much time dying, kneeling on that goddamn gravel.
So
I think I have permanent indentations in my knees from that gravel.
So, funny story, actually, I helped to build the fort. Well, I helped repair the fort. I helped repair the fort after it started wilting. So there were several households that built the fort. Shadow clans being the most prominent because they have their big badge on the front. And House White Tower of the Middle Kingdom, which I was a part of at the time, was one of the households that went out to help build the original fort. And I was still in House White Tower when after a really bad year of ice and snow, all of the gravel started shifting that thing. And there was a lot of contention. Is it safe? Is it not? And so that June, basically a bunch of mid-realmers and I went out because House White Tower gathered everyone together, and we went back out there, and we spent an entire weekend building aggregate rocks, concrete, because we weren't allowed to put a foundation in. That's like the whole problem with the fort is that there's no foundation. And so we had to build aggregate rocks, naturally forming rocks that were just basically like concrete. And so what we did was we put wires up into the fort, backed a couple of trucks into it, knocked it back where it needed to be, put the cables through, built concrete, and then we all just kind of camped out there and drank all weekend after like fixing the fort. Udalric, I was connected to Udalric, and because he was squire to Sir Miles, which was the founder of House White Tower. And so because he was squire to one of the households that helped build the fort, he felt like he got some ownership in starting the storming of La Rochelle. And so I was cadet to him, and he was like, "It's my battle. You should go out. It'll be great." And I'm like, "No, I'm not going to fight in your battle." And so I would find a class. I would find a volunteer shift. I would find a retinue shift. I would find any reason to not go to La Rochelle because I was a very contrary teenager. And so a lot of the reason why I didn't go to La Rochelle in the early days was because I was just being contrary.
Udalric needed that.
Right. Yeah. And eventually I did start going when after I became a bronze ring, because of the bronze ring versus the world. And they're like, "Come on, girl bronze ring, you should come out with us." And I was like, "No." And they're like, "None of the other girl bronze rings are going out with us to the La Rochelle." And I'm like, really? And so I get guilt tripped into it. And I remember like just finding any reason to not be at La Rochelle. I don't mind La Rochelle now. But back in the day, I just really like, because I'm so short and like the limited front engagement, either I can't engage, or if I do engage, I'm just going to die right away. So when I did go, I would like grab the car and run up and be like, "I explode, kablooey. That's the best thing I'm going to do this whole melee." But yeah.
La Rochelle can go either way, really. I have to say the Woods battle still holds my loyalty.
I'm with
Our
you.
half house won the woods. Letia!
So I also am a huge fan of the Woods Battle. You've got a cat too, who's joining the conversation. Here she is. So
what's
huge
your
fan of the
kitty's
Woods
name?
Battle, partially because as a small fighter, I can get around trees and use them and sneak around things and run through the brush, which I don't mind. Which leads me to maybe not my favorite moment, but a hilarious, lovely Woods Battle moment where I was downhill from somebody in their back line, and it was one of those real tall fencers that are like 6 million feet tall and 4 inches, 6 million and 4 inches. And I DFB'd them, and they turned around to say something like, "It's not safe to DFB from your knees," not realizing they were on a hill. And they turned and looked at me and they were like, "Oh," because it was at so much of an angle that like my sword couldn't come flat. It was like that. And so they kind of had to eat humble pie as soon as they turned around. It was really funny. So that's probably one of my favorite funny stories. One of my other favorite melees is not rapier related. I've gotten to be on the guard for the kids' water balloon.
Oh my God.
And it's great, I just have to say. So
I feel like that's just another fort battle. We're good there.
yeah,
All right.
but much cooler
Natalia?
because you get soaked with water.
Right?
Yeah. The fact that goes on is just awesome. That's Dark Moon, right? Is that a mid-realm household brigade?
Yes, it is. Dark Moon is the yellow and black heraldry with the cross moon thing, camped next to Ribbon Star. Yeah. Natalia,
Yes.
what is your
My-
favorite melee scenario that's ever been held at Pennsic, and what's your favorite melee moment or moments?
My moments are more personal things that, like, I'm a delicate little tiny flower, and I do my best to convince everyone of that point. You can't see it right now, but I'm all of 5 foot and half an inch. I'm tiny.
I'm 5'3", so.
So what happens is that I cannot reach for the most part, even though I've gotten longer weapons because all of the weapon, the weapons war of getting longer and longer. But what I do is that usually, because especially with resurrection battles, is that you go in with different people. I pick the tallest, biggest, broadest guys, women, everybody to come with me.
That's enough.
And then I will say, look, they're going to pay attention to me. I can't reach them. I want you to boop them right in the nose. Boop. And I will do stuff, and I will do what Dorinda just was saying in the chat about, I will talk to people, and I will, hey, and start, and sorry, Elidor, and talk to them and start distracting them and saying, come on, you don't want to stand there, or tap their weapon. And
If
as soon as
clear, I have been booped in the nose by her troops while she's talking to me. That's not clear.
And I tell them, the minute they look at me, just hit them.
Yes.
Okay, because you can reach them.
Yeah.
I don't need to get the kills. It's fine. And I enjoy that. That's part of the joy. That's part of the fun of letting other people have their day in the sun. Yeah, I'm going to tell you, can you run all the way across that field? Great. This is what I would like you to do. I want you to run all the way.
I would just like to point out, Natalia, don't you have a song written about you?
No. I don't know what you're talking about.
I feel like we must now find this song.
No, it starts with
Wanda Mondania. Sorry. I'm not saying anything.
Don't listen to Natalia. But
She'll end up fucking dead.
It's okay. I'll drop the F-bomb, or we're not.
Right, we'll bleep it a little bit. But those are the things I enjoy is going out with new people and saying, let's go out, let's see what fun we can get into. Let's see what we can do to curve this line, or I'm going to start shouting at them as soon as they look at me, you kill them, and that's good. And that's how I enjoy it. The woods is my church. I go in there and I enjoy it because the terrain is built for someone like me. And I can't walk along anywhere unless I have something in my hand because I'm klutzy. But the minute I get into the woods, I go flying over the boards and things like that.
Yes,
And just
give her a stick to hold in her hand and she is invincible.
I'm fine. So
I grew up in the woods. I'm a woodsy person. I love this. I remember a marshal yelling at me because I was standing on top of all of the branches and not falling down into between. Yeah.
I remember that. I
That's
remember that you guys
so
would have to have me come find the islets every year, and you're like, Brigid, you know which trees to walk to, because I was in there so long for rattan that I was just like, it's my church too. I know where those trees are. As a matter of fact, right now I can walk to those trees. Like I can still remember exactly where those damn trees are.
I've been in
Dorinda.
several different woods. They're all amazing. They're all woods.
They're all woods. Dorinda, you requested to tell a fun Natalia melee story, please.
Yes. So I think as people think about melee, of course, one of the most important things to think about is field position and where everybody is. And that's something that Natalia is truly a master of. So there I was, again, fighting with the mid-round with Natalia on the other side, doing exactly what she said, popping forward, taunting the other troops, taunting back, you know, whatever. So out of the blue, here comes a nice young fencer. I'm not sure what kingdom he was from. I don't recognize him. But your standard tall, somewhat talented guy with a couple of long swords. And he comes up and sees Natalia a little bit out in front of everybody else. And so he comes up and he's like, aha. And of course, you can't be talking on the melee field. It's too loud. So you got to use body language. And his body language was, I am going to take you out. And Natalia's body language was like, ooh, I am scared of you. I do not want to tangle with you. I am so sorry. Please, you take this space in front of me. It's yours. I'm out. And she backs up, knowing where every single one of the 400 fencers on that field was located. Every one of them. So he, with his body language, puffs his chest out and says, I will take this victory. And he turns his
and he turned around.
And just like every slow motion paper towel commercial you have ever seen, we watched the glass start to fall and everybody on Alpha Mark screamed, no! And she DFB'd him and sent him off the field. So just remember, if Natalia looks scared, it's a trick. If Natalia's talking to you, it's a trick. If Natalia is there, it's probably a trick.
If Natalia's
don't fucking listen to Natalia. She'll get you dead.
I have to tell a story. Natalia knows exactly what one I'm going to tell. So,
oopsies.
Very early Rapier Woods melees. Mercedes, I have not forgotten about you. I'm getting to you next.
Okay, I got a glass of wine. I'm good.
Oh, yay. One of the very first Rapier Woods battles, and I am just sneaking through the tree line, doing my little brigade thing, and I see Natalia, and she is just kind of leaning against a tree, and I'm like, oh no, Natalia's hurt. Natalia's not feeling well because of the heat. Oh my gosh, it was a trick. No, spoiler, it was a trick. So I come up and I was like, Natalia, are you okay? Like, I totally leave my hiding spot. And I'm like, Natalia, are you okay? And she's like,
I'm resting.
Good. It's fine.
I'm resting.
I'm just resting. And I was like, are you too hot? Do you need water? Do you need a break? Like, what do you need? And out of the corner of my eye, there's this dude with this like noob looking blue tunic rolling up on me with case. And I was like, hey bro, like I'm checking on Natalia. And he's like, okay. So like, Natalia, are you okay? And she's like, yes. And I was like, okay, I just want to make sure. She goes, I just need to rest. I was like, okay, cool. So I turned to engage noob-looking dude in a blue tunic. By the way, this is Master Ogadai. He just had this blue tunic. Like, it was like the most generic-looking tunic ever. And so I go, and I engage Ogadai, and I no sooner set up when I hear, Brigid, you're dead from behind. And I'm like, Natalia! I literally broke out of my hiding
I
place.
gave you 3 steps.
And I was so upset. And so afterwards, I left and I came back and I went looking for you and I couldn't find you. And so I come over to Shark and I'm like, and
like, she was so mad. For years you were mad at me.
I was so mad. And Brigid,
you were mad for years. It's amazing you forgave me.
I'm like, I was just checking to see if you were okay. And totally, I just got like I listened to Natalia. I was.
You can't for sure. Just say
it was a thing. So Mercedes, what's your favorite melee scenario that's ever been held at Pennsic, and what's your favorite melee moment?
Well, I'm going to tell you my second favorite. My first favorite, of course, is the woods battle where Natalia and her daughter swapped armor.
Oh, that was the same melee.
And I went out with Leonette and went, Natalia, you should probably do blah, blah, blah. That was hilarious. Anyway, so my favorite, I love the basics. Go out, one life, kill everyone on the field, go away. It's just my favorite. My favorite story is one where I died gloriously. And I didn't know it until after the battle was over. So who knows how long ago it was. I have no concept of time anymore. I was given charge of a small group of irregulars. I think there were 6 of us. And the general said, just hang back, I will tell you where to go. So hang back at the side, and then he spots a line coming across the field, a huge line, and he says, go stop them. And I went, okay. So we ran down, we got in front of these, it felt like 50 people, it was probably no more than 25. But there were the 6 of us, and we spread out, and we just held them for as long as we could. Our job was not to die, just hold them there. So eventually we died, and we walked off the field, and we were all dejected, and we got to the side, and I said to Malcolm, I'm sorry, I tried, you know, we did our best. You know, how did we win the battle? He's like, oh yeah, we won really well because you guys went out there, you held that line long enough that we had mopped up everything else. We swung around behind you. If you guys left, we crushed them. I'm like, okay, cool. And it made my whole war because I died, but I died for a cause. I died gloriously.
Awesome. It's a good story. I have a very similar story. I've actually been trying to figure out how I'm going to answer this question. I think everyone else answered. Elidor, did we get you?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. I'm trying to remember where everyone is in the screen and then make sure I didn't miss anyone. So if I missed someone, like, I'm sorry. My favorite melee scenario that's ever been held at Pennsic is gotta be the woods, like, hands down. And I'm an old woods snob. I'm not a fan of the new woods. And I think that's just partially because I don't know it as well. Like, I used to run the woods walks for the old woods. I would run 2 to 3 woods walks during war before the melee scenario, just so that I could take people through, make sure they knew where all the res points were going to be, where all the deliverables were going to be. And that was really important to me. And so I've been kind of writing down like my various favorite melee moments and trying to rank them so I could say what my favorite one is. And I'd have to say it's when I was on the East Kingdom side. And I just moved from the middle not long ago, and I didn't do the woods battle for a while afterwards because it was in the new woods, and I was kind of like BS about it. And so finally I go to the new woods, and I was like, okay, I don't really have an agenda, and I don't really have a plan. So I'm just going to be involved in fuckery. That's going to be my whole role today. I'm not going to bother to try and help any deliverables or do any of the things that I normally do. And so I decide I'm going to just kill commanders. I'm going to find mid-realm commanders, and I'm going to kill those commanders. And a lot of them still like would listen to what I would say because they had like this institutional remembrance of my voice. In the mid-realm, like we hold a kingdom war practice every month. We hold regional war practices almost every weekend. Like, there are not a lot of attorneys, at least back when I was there. Like it's just war, so much training for war. And so like I would run training camps, I would run practices, I would teach classes, I would do all this stuff. So people knew my name, people knew my voice. And I was wearing my green tabard with my big dragonfly on it and a big fluffy bronze scarf. There is no hiding who I was. So I go running out, and as the lines engage, I just kept running. And I get to like 30 feet behind the mid-realm side, turn and start walking back towards the mid-realm side. I'm in the middle of the line, and I see the general of the Middle Kingdom right there. And it's Adam Mackay. And I'm like, awesome. And so I just walk casually up to him and lay my blade on his shoulder and get, Adam, you're dead. And he turns around and is like, Brigade! And I eat like 9 swords. Right? And I'm like, this is the best game ever. So I go to res, and I come back. And I then find the XO, who is Peter Grau von Bremen, who was my cadet brother. And I'm like, this is going to be awesome. So I go stompy up and down the line until I find a spot where Atlantia has like kind of decimated people. And I'm like, cool, I'm going to take that like nice little like hidey hole that Atlantia has made for me, walk through the line, and keep walking to about 30 feet and then turn around and walk with the pace of people coming back from res. I have blue tape on. Like, and roll up on Peter Grau von Bremen. And I'm like, hey, Peter, you're dead from behind. And he's like, Brigade! And I'm like, go res. I mean, like, I would eat sword every time I did that. Like, that's fine. Like, I didn't care. And so I died. And I went back to res. And I came back, and I'm like, what commander have I not messed with today? I'm like, aha, Anton. And I just went through for like an hour, like finding a commander, and I wouldn't engage the line. I wouldn't fight. I just wait until a good time, walk through the line, turn around. And at one point in time, I did get behind Barony of Bryndoken, I think it was, and I was like, Bryndoken, fall back on me, Bryndoken. And they listened for like 10 seconds. And then I died.
You deserved to.
And I deserved it. And I went back to res.
Yes.
And Kenrick was king. And this was about an hour into the res battle, and he's like, no more DFBs because like the mid-realm's sick of it. And I was like, well, my job here is done. Like, and so I left the melee and went back to camp. But I have to say, I mean, the woods had so many great stories. I have great stories with you, Dorinda, in the woods. Actually, falling back to one of the previous things you said is you're a good ally when you were like, my objective is to take this banner. So we are going to take this banner. And so we put Atlantia, or I'm sorry, we put Ethelmark on the middle banner. We put Atlantia in the open woods. And you guys held that banner so well, you had people sitting down. And I was running the battle. I was in charge of the battle. I was running around actually with a rolled up woods map as my parry device. Because I'd roll it open and then be like, I need your unit here. And then I'd roll it back shut. So I came to you and I was like, oh my God, I need Ethelmark to move. And you're like, no, we did our job. We have our banner. And I'm like, well, I know you have your banner, but I need some guys. And you're like, no, we have our banner. And I'm like,
yeah,
you did your job too well.
To actually change.
And so I ended up finding Atlanteans, and I'm like, hey, Atlanteans, I need someone who's bored. And they gave me the Barony of Ymir, I guess it's the Windmill Group.
Masters Hill.
Yeah, Windmasters Hill. And I got 10 fencers from there, and I was like, all right, all I need you to do is come with me. You're gonna die, and then res and go back to your line. And they're like, cool. And I'm like, we're gonna go clear out North Shield, and they have landed there, and they're like, great, whoop. And they cleared out North Shield.
I was part of that unit that went whoop with you.
Oh, were you? That's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah. So the woods is my favorite, and I just have so many good stories from the woods. I'd say if I had a non-woods battle story, it would be the D&D town battle. And Wistrick and Bruce are running the D&D town battle scenario story.
While we're here,
what's that?
Can you unmute Wistrick? He's here.
He is here. I'm going to unmute you briefly, Wistrick, to plug your podcast once I figure out where you're at in this. There you are. Is Bruce on the line? Bruce is not on the line. Wistrick,
she might be. I think she said she was. But yes.
Oh, there she is.
Next Saturday, the 8th. You know what? Let her talk. This is not my space.
I can't unmute her. Why is this not unmuted?
It's unmuted.
Why? Wait. Why are we unmuting me? Hi.
Talk about what's happening next Saturday.
The D&D town battle episode you're going to run.
Hi guys, this is Bruce from the Midrealm. I am one of the co-troublemakers with Wistrick for the current, I don't want to call it a podcast, but I guess it's a podcast called Fighting the World with an emphasis on melee in SCA Rapier. And next weekend, as part of the Atlantean virtual Pennsic shenanigans, we will be doing a special show at 9 p.m. Eastern on Saturday the 8th, dealing with the D&D town battle, which is the memeiest looking melee map you've ever seen, with a set of rules to go along with it. We will be bringing in people from the East, from the Mid, from Atlantia, and from Aethelmark to come and talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of the scenario, and how we could have triaged it in the same situation. So I hope you guys will join us. Some of the people on this very panel will be there, including Brigid and Dorinda. We'll have one of the KRMs, the marshals in charge for Pennsic that year, also talking about why that particular melee was maybe a bad idea. And we're hoping not to give too many people PTSD flashbacks, but it should be a good time.
And the reason I wanted to do a quick call out on that is, in some ways that was one of my favorite melee moments because of how we dealt with the deliverables and how we trained for it. And it was also kind of a hallmark in the Middle Kingdom where we had this really great synthesis between crossovers with Rattan and Rapier. And so that was pretty cool. All right, I'm gonna pivot to the next part. So I can either head on to tournament discussions. We've been on for a little over an hour now. Or I can do our wind down questions. What do you guys think?
I'm going to be, I apologize, but I'm going to have to leave. So this was really delightful. It was really great to see everybody.
Good to see you. All right. Will we see you at hopefully the next Pennsic?
Indeed. That is my hope. Thank you everyone for coming. And if you have any questions, of course, feel free to ask us. That's what we're here for.
Thank you, Natalia. Are you leaving, Terry? All right. So those left standing, do you want to move on to talking about tournaments or wind down?
I'm kind of good with winding down. It's been a long day.
It's okay. I mean, it's only 6:30.
I know you're on the West Coast, but it's a long day here.
Right. I just assumed that it's long. So I'm gonna end this with a simple question. What's your perfect Pennsic fighting day look like? And will we see you at next Pennsic? Mercedes.
Oh, my perfect day. So I'd rather it be, not quite so hot as it's been. So cool weather, and
All right.
melees all day.
It's an outfit.
I know as much as everyone likes the woods, I don't, because I am the clumsiest person in the world. So if I run through the woods, I will face plant. And face planting in a mask sucks a lot. So I tend not to fight in the woods anymore because too many twisted ankles and face plants. But I love melees. If I could do like a single limb tourney in the morning, a short res battle during the day, in the midday, and then the ladies' tourney in the afternoon. That would be perfect.
Love the plug for the ladies' tourney. Ilidor.
Yes. The ladies' tourney, I didn't fight in it for a lot of years. And when I did finally, I've only fought once, unfortunately, because duty calls. It was a great time to just enjoy the company of other women who fence. I didn't want to be, unfortunately, being a woman in a martial sport in the SCA, you have to be one of the boys. It's just what happened. And getting a chance to fight and not be one of the boys was really special for me, and I really loved that. So, being able to do that as kind of the last thing of the day, and then going out drinking with my friends.
Nice. Thank you, Mercedes. Ilidor.
Mercedes stole most of my my plan. So my best Pennsic day ever would be, it is 77, 78 degrees, right? Just a big, bright blue, but big puffy cloud. So that way it's not like you're not dying from getting sunburnt. There's just enough clouds but it's also beautiful. And we have the giant Ansturin rapier tournament, and it's just big enough that there's a ton of people there, but not big enough that it's single a limb, right? So I like a good double a limb tournament, right? I love a good double a limb tournament, or a round robin, also a good one of my favorites. And then break, I go to the food court and have a ton of carbs that are terrible and bad for me, but I eat them anyways. And then I go back, and we have, I would love to have I also agree, a great res battle would be good, but simple, not 14 different scenarios of like how to win, right? I don't know. I just want and to fairly eat, I go kill people, I come back, right? That's really all I want. And then after all that is done and I am super tired because I've gotten a ton of fighting in the day, I go back to camp and hang out in my Under Armour and drink a beer, as is my right as a fighter. And that is perhaps my best fighting day at Pennsic.
All right. Mirabai.
So weather, low 70s, overcast, low humidity, dry ground would be great. As you might be able to tell from my pallor, I fry in about 10 seconds in the sun. So champs tourney in the morning for once, when it's still nice and cool and everybody's fresh.
Yeah.
I love the champs tourney. I've loved it even more now that there's a melee component. I've helped run the table for it the last couple of years. Helped do phonetic pronunciations for the heralds so that they're not embarrassed by screwing up people's names. It's been great. I love the pageantry of it, and I just love watching the super intense fights. Then break for lunch. I don't know what I would eat, but definitely ice cream. I eat ice cream every day at Pennsic, and it's amazing. Sometimes twice a day. and then res battle in the afternoon. Like a good hour-long slugfest would be wonderful.
Take what's left in the tank.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, and then pickups afterwards if there's anything left. Stagger back to camp at like 5, take a shower, eat dinner, have a Johnny jump up. Yeah.
All right. Letia.
So typically the 5-man and the by the book happen at the same time. And usually I can talk my way into being able to fight both. And I love that because they'll work around. So I just don't stop fighting, and it's all tourney fighting. Well, the 5-man melee is not tourney, but it is less, you know, giant group on giant group. So being a short fighter means I don't get pushed to the back of the line and I can actually do stuff. So I would start with that and just fight straight those. And then somehow get calories and then fight the woods battle, but it would start on time. And somehow we would, right?
Whoa,
And there'd be no
right
waiting.
there.
Oh.
We're talking about realistic things here.
Yeah, you just said what would the ideal one be, and I just
Oh, right.
All right.
We're in a
there-
fantasy land.
Fantasy land, woods battle starts on time, and then afterwards rally on ice cream, of course. Pickups would happen after the woods battle, which also never happens. And of course I would have enough energy for all this, and everyone else would too, because Magic World. Rally on ice cream after the ice pops happen, because those happen too.
Freezy Pops are the best.
Freezy Pops after woods battle, best thing ever. Happens every time. It's so good. And yeah, ice cream, and then hanging out with everybody, because yeah.
All right. I'm gonna answer because I'm saving the best for last, which is Dorinda. So I'm gonna say my perfect Pennsic fighting day. Now that I live in Seattle, our climate is like in the winter maybe 45 degrees, and in the summer maybe 75 degrees. And we don't actually like shift that much climate wise, and we don't get that much like sun, and it's just going to Pennsic is a shock for me at like 30 degrees difference, huge humidity difference. And I spend the first 2 days in and out of the EMS tent because of heat exhaustion injuries. So I walk around Pennsic with like a bag of ice on my shoulders for the first 2 days just to try and mitigate that. And so for me, like this last Pennsic, my ideal day was it was raining. It was raining, it was overcast, and I went out there and I held the field for 4.5 hours and just told everyone, I'm like, I haven't fought you in years. Please come fight me. Like
You'll never be a soggy Cecil.
I have taken over this list field. Cecil's a soggy cupcake. I dubbed him Soggy Cupcake. That's a whole different story. And so when it's overcast, when it's cool, I can actually fight all day, and I get so excited because I can actually fight at war. But before I had all these heat injuries, my favorite fighting day thing would be on the Rapier Champions team. And I would not do any pickups. I wouldn't go to the field until like I had to be at the field. I wouldn't even touch my armor until I had to touch my armor, because I have one duel that day and I have to kill one guy. And so I would spend the day having the best breakfast with my friends. I would spend the day celebrating time with my friends because I have one duel today and I could die. And so I would kind of superficially give myself the absolute best day ever before a Pennsic Champions tourney, so that I could remind myself, it's okay, I prepared for this duel. I'm gonna kick their ass, but like, you know, all I've done today is prepared for this one duel. And then at the end of the day, if it's overcast and I can actually fight, I'm with you guys. I want a res battle to clean out the tank, finish out what I have left, go have a shower beer with my sweetheart, and then party my little ass off. Dorinda, what is your perfect Pennsic fighting day?
A perfect Pennsic fighting day is 65 degrees, not too hot and sunny, and we're doing something like a res battle where there's a lot going on and a lot of different things, and many of us can come off the field with a heroic moment like the ones we got to share today. I know we were prepping for Pennsic and I was working with a young lady, and she was a brand new fencer from the mid-realm, and she'd not been authorized that long. And we were doing that practice where we did you had to take the consecutive hay bale thing, which turned out to be nothing like what we practiced. But we had one of those, and she snuck behind everybody, and she got the flag because nobody was paying attention to her because she was new. And she got to walk off the field that day with a heroic moment. And I think that's what I wish for everybody, is a nice big melee where everybody gets to walk off the field with that moment where they got to take the flag or stop the charge or save their queen or whatever it was that they were going to do. And as we sit around the fire at night, they get to tell the story of their heroic moment. That's my perfect.
That just brought tingles up my spine. It's like the magic of why we do this. Yep. That's so perfect. All right. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us for this. We really appreciate you coming and hanging out with us and sharing your questions in the chat. Thank you, participants. It's really nice to see you all. It warms my heart to see you because I miss everyone so fucking bad.
Thanks for having us.
Same.
No worries, no worries.
Thank you.
And thanks to everyone in the chat.
Yes.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for coming.
Bye. Bye. I have to figure out how to shut off the recording.